Caitlin Clark want all the smoke. Caitlin Clark want all the smoke, bruh. Bruh, she just annihilated Cheryl Reeve on national television. I didn't see that.
Caitlin Clark fires Cheryl Reeve in front of the entire nation on live television. IT was more than just a deal. Players were not moved by Caitlin. She relocated a coach. Additionally, she did it without hesitation, coolly and calmly. I'm not sure if this is covered under the regulations. I don't give a damn. That isn't merely audacious. It's legendary. Pack your bags, Cheryl. We've taken your seats. Let's dissect this completely.
We've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. He's going to take her coach, Sandy Brondello. Let's get it.
Let's acquire it. Let's not mince words. Cheryl Reeve was recently humiliated on live television by Caitlin Clark, and she carried it out with the assurance of someone who has been anticipating this day. They inquired as to whether she would like to trade. The majority of people would consider switching players. Straight-faced, she said, "Not Caitlin. I want to switch coaches." Who, after all, does that? Cheryl was expected to lead the team, coach Clark, and draw plays. Rather, she was dismissed as a poor collaborator on a collective endeavor. Shipped to Team Collier without hesitation, and it was the icing on the cake. Clark said, "Sorry if it's not in the rules, but we just made it a rule." It wasn't only a flex, it was an overt power move. The Olympic coach, the seasoned voice, and the one who has spoken out loud about Caitlin this year, Cheryl Reeve, was humiliated. Have you ever witnessed a coach being traded during an all-star game? Not at all, since Caitlin is now in her league. Look, this wasn't a sudden development. Caitlin didn't decide to clown Cheryl Reeve for fun after waking up. This was retaliation. Team USA, which excluded Clark from the Olympic squad, was coached by Cheryl Reeve. Let's not fool ourselves. She had influence even though she wasn't the one who made the ultimate decision. Significant impact. The worst part, though, wasn't even that. By tweets that made fun of Clark's media hype, retweeting content about earning it on defense, and saying things like, "The media should focus on basketball, not personalities," Cheryl began subtly disparaging Clark on social media. Translation: Caitlin Clark receiving all the spotlight bothers us. After Christine Brennan's book caused a stir, she then attempted to remove those tweets, a classic move. Deflect, delete, and deny. However, Caitlin recalled. Therefore, she settled scores when she held the microphone during the draft rather than merely selecting players. Does Cheryl Reeve deserve it, in your opinion? Or did Caitlin overstep her bounds? To be honest, it would have been brave enough for Caitlin to exchange Cheryl Reeve for anyone after declaring, "I don't like my coach." However, she exchanged Reeve for Sandy Brondello, the New York Liberty's head coach, and one of the game's top offensive strategists. That is a flex, not just a trade. Brondello is Caitlin's coach in addition to her full-time role as coach of Sabrina Ionescu. Every shooter's dream is that Cheryl, who coaches Team Collier, gets caught in the interim. That club has significantly worse shooting, less spacing, and a coach who obviously didn't want to be there in the first place. I don't mean to offend Fee. Caitlin performed a basketball move in addition to a vibe motion. Her coach now genuinely wants her to reach her full potential. She's no longer bitter about her notoriety. When Sandy entered the All-Star Hotel, he most likely thought, "Yep, this is my squad." Let me ask you a question now. Who would you want to write up plays for if you had to participate in a one-off All-Star game? Is it bittersweet Cheryl Reeve or Sandy Brondello? Let's now discuss Caitlin's team draft process. This wasn't a random occurrence. This went beyond simply selecting the best. This was surgical retaliation, not revenge. She chose the Boston Mitchell players who have publicly supported her as her Fever teammates. Zero hatred, zero operations, Sonia Catrone, Sabrina Sudasali, and buddies from USA Basketball. You weren't chosen if you've ever side-eyed her in a post-game, liked a dubious post, or clowned her on Twitter. Gone, Skylar Diggins. Yes, Ryan Howard, definitely not. Me Bounds and Angel Reese are welcome to remain there. Even Paige Buers, who has spent years being hailed as her competitor, was overlooked. Like she was assembling an Avengers squad, Caitlin created a roster, but only those who didn't try to subtly disparage her did so. Not only is that clever, but it's also petty and flawless. In a game like this, do you think the no-op strategy works or not? Can we all just pause for a moment to laugh? Legendary WNBA player Cheryl Reeve was treated like a player on a 10-day contract. She received the same treatment as a bag of gum. "No, I don't want that Subway sandwich," someone said. "Instead, I'll have Chipotle." As well as how Caitlyn carried it out. So composed, so expert. Just feelings, no regrets or apologies. At first, even Faye Collier appeared shaken, but she soon smiled and said, "Okay, I'll take her." Let's face it, this will always be a part of WNBA meme history. Officially, the Clark legacy includes the coach who was traded. Do you realize how uncommon that is? Especially not in a draft, coaches are not traded, particularly not by a novice. Caitlyn may have just established a new custom. Are we also drafting referees for next year? Fans were anticipating this, so let's get back to Paige Booers. This was the draft, the moment. The chance for Caitlyn and Paige to finally collaborate after years of anticipation. "And nah, I'm good," replied Caitlyn. It seems deliberate that she chose Satu Sabali instead. Here is what we do know, albeit we are unsure if there is actual friction between them. Caitlyn and Paige have never really been friends. There's always been a subtle rivalry and an uneasy vibe. It was almost like the old guard when Paige joined Team Collier with Cheryl. Reverend Caitlyn created her own world in the interim. Let's put it simply. With Paige, Clark is not pursuing the past. She is creating her own. Do you think Paige was offended by that? Would you? Nafisa Collier attempted to clap back after all that drama. "You just gave me more chemistry," she replied. "Caitlyn, that was a poor decision. Are you certain about it, sis? F is a beast, you see. Without a doubt. Let's not pretend, though, that she upgraded. She chose a coach who was unwilling to be there with a group of players who were likely still resentful. They did not support Clark. Caitlyn, meanwhile, has teammates, shooters, camaraderie, and now a coach who genuinely likes her. To be honest, Team Collier may possess greater experience. However, that's straight-up firepower. Team Clark. And that team will look really dusty by halftime if Cheryl takes over coaching and calling post plays for 10 minutes in a row. Do you think Collier and Reeve will get along, or are they going to be smoked? One of the draft's more embarrassing moments was when Collier called Angel Remy Bounds and attempted to dismiss it as harmless. And Caitlyn knew that if she even smirked, Twitter would go up, so she didn't laugh or react. Instead, she just looked straight ahead as if she were watching a car wreck in slow motion. Once more, Caitlyn Clark treats black women with disdain. She burst out laughing at me. Do you see her true feelings? She had no intention of falling into that trap. She didn't chuckle. She did not co-sign. She sat quietly, allowing the discomfort to unfold. To be honest, that was shrewd. Sometimes being quiet is the best strategy. Like Caitlyn, would you have laughed or remained stern? For a moment, let's become serious. This all-star game has evolved beyond simple enjoyment. It's intimate. In the sand, Caitlyn traced her line. She purposefully assembled her team. Cheryl Reeve, no drama, no betrayers, and no phony love. The athletes on her current coaching staff likely believe Caitlyn receives too much attention. There will be an advantage to this game. It's not an East-West conflict. Not even Fee and Caitlyn are at odds. It's Reeve's way versus Clark's world, old guard versus new wave. Are you watching the meet, the basketball, or both? Let's not pretend any longer. Caitlyn Clark is involved in more than just the WNBA. She is in charge of planning it. This has nothing to do with adapting to the league. It's not about waiting for respect or gaining stripes. And oh, she is completely rethinking the hierarchy. Clark grinned as he replied, "We just made it a rule," looking directly into the camera. That was serious. It was a move of power. She wasn't requesting permission. There was no playbook she was consulting. In front of the league, the supporters, and a coach who had previously attempted to keep her off Team USA's bench, she changed the rules live on television. That's control, not simply confidence. Without hesitation, she switched her coach to the national team's coach. She used chemistry and loyalty to build her roster. she purposefully created something that captures her identity: fierce, determined, and fearlessly audacious. To tell the